Hey, what's up everybody? Welcome to the Rules of Engagement. As always, I'll be your host, Nick, axslav, ranish, and today we're going to do some cool stuff. We're going to look over the Babyknight vs. Nerchio games that you saw yesterday on the Winter Showdown match. So we're going to go through a couple of these games, of course. It was a 4-game series. We're only going to take a look at games number 1, game number 1, 2, and 4, and then rounding out the show is going to be the viewer Q&A. So, of course, if you want to ask me any questions, go ahead, tweet them to me at axslav. I'll answer them at the end of the show. Tweet me questions about anything about the content that we've done earlier today, any of the matches we've had in the past, any strategy questions. Whatever you want to tweet me, go ahead and ask me because it will be answered at the end of the show. But now let's talk about what we're going to talk about in game number 1, Nerchio vs. Babyknight on Entombed Valley. First, we'll talk about some new Zerg Heart of the Swarm openings that Nerchio was using. And then some Mutalisk usage in Zerg vs. Protoss. And then also how to take advantage of map control once you have it. So let's jump into the game. We're going to jump into it starting at the 6:30 mark. And one thing we'll notice here is at 6:30 minutes in the game, Zerg has no third base, right? So a lot of this is because Protoss players are doing things, moving out the Mothership Core and Zealots early on in the game. Babyknight is not even expanding fast. He's doing a gateway expansion. And so, because of this new threat of the Mothership Core really coming out across the map, more Zergs are delaying their third bases, getting to gas faster. In fact, Zerging speed is already done, and he's still mining some gas. So faster gas, faster Zerging speed, and in fact, it's going to end up being a faster layer as well, as we can see the layers on the way here. The third base is going to be slower. He's still going to get it out eventually, but it is going to be considerably slower than you'd see in a standard Wings of Liberty Zerg vs. Protoss. And that's because he wants to have this little speedling group on the map here to keep track of any Protoss threat. Make sure that this army cannot move across the map, because if the army with the Mothership Core gets across the map, it can cancel a third base, and then even if it gets stuck in a corner, pinned in by force fields, it can just recall back. These types of new Protoss move-outs are much stronger, and so the Zergs are reacting by getting the speedings a little bit faster, getting their lair tech faster so it's okay if they lose the third base, and playing it a little bit different style. We can see Nerchio doing that already, getting a Spire out very quickly. So that brings us to the second point, which is going to be Mutalisk usage in Heart of the Swarm, basically, and in Zerg versus Protoss. So if you're a Zerg player like Nerchio this game, and of course he's doing some nice little try to run by with Zergings, of course not getting too many probe kills there because Babyknight is very, very on top of his micro, only getting, I think, 4 probe kills there, and of course with the scouting kill earlier. But if you're favoring tech over the faster third base and your economy isn't that great, as you can see, only 53 harvesters at the 10:30 mark is not particularly great for a Zerg player. What you want to do is you want to focus on units that can be cost efficient. This means you do not want to be making roaches, you do not want to be making hydralisks. You want to be making some of the strong lair tech units, Infestors, Swarm Hosts, Mutalisks, those type of units. And Mutalisks, when they're properly controlled, can be extremely cost efficient. Because as we can see here, he can go kill probes in one base, as his opponent can try to go around and put damage on him. Even with the Photon Overcharge, any damage is quickly regenerated via the Tissue Regeneration ability. And they can circle around and get more and more probe kills throughout the game. So very, very cost efficient if they're properly controlled. Even if the Stalkers are shooting, you just kind of ignore it, get that regeneration, and go straight for as many probe kills as possible, kind of run around in circles. Now, if you get the Mutas as fast as Nerchio did, you can see the Protoss typically will not have a lot of answers to them just because the Protoss, earlier in the game, people have less units, right? The less number of units you have, then the much easier it is to, basically to do the Muta harass without taking too many losses on those Mutas. So now the next thing you're going to notice is that because these Mutalisks are attacking from so many different angles, right? We can see they're attacking in the third here. They can come across in the main. They can come across in a natural. The Protoss is stuck back on the defensive, okay? The Protoss is stuck back on the defensive. What we can see here is that this gives Nerchio map control. So the Mutalisk right here, as he's flying around the map, are giving him a ton of this extra map control. And what can he do with it? He can do a couple things. One is he can solidify this map control. As we can see here, what he's going to do is bring the Overseers forward, making sure there's no observers in front of the base. And then it's going to bring forward some Overlord spread creep and set up a Spine Core Contain. And now what that Spine Core Contain is going to do This is going to reinforce his map control and basically make sure his opponent has no way of moving out of the map for the next couple minutes. In fact, let's actually jump over here, and we can see the massive drone transfer is going right now, and all the spine cores are going to be built in just a second, right? So as these spine cores get built, what we're going to see is this contain become a stronger and stronger force. Now, when you've got a contain, both from the muteless harassing, forcing your opponent to base, and then now making it even stronger by massing all the spine cores, you know that you've got several minutes before any action is going to happen. So that means for the next several minutes, you should be investing in only economy and in upgrades, in tech, in these high-tech units to prepare yourself for the late game. If you're not able to prepare for the late game, there's no point doing the contain. You should be attacking instead of just trying to delay the battle by setting up a contain. So right here, if you look at the production tab, I like some things I'm seeing by Nerchio, like the hive tech. But I'm not sure if I like the roach worm. Right? He's building that roach worm. That's not really going to help him too much in the late game because roaches aren't very efficient. He's also building hydralists. Those aren't going to help him that much in the late game too because they're not very cost efficient either. And also, he's not droning up. If you look at the income tab, he's only at 57 drones. In fact, he has less economy than his Protoss opponent, even though he's the one with the map control. So this is a situation where he is a brilliant setup, but then he felt he was committed to defend this location and couldn't afford to build more drones. So it's almost an economy drain on him instead of what it should have been, which is a way to get an economy advantage. And as we can see here, if we jump back in the game, he can still do some nice stuff with the mutilus. He can still do some great harassment. But if you look at the upgrade tab, his opponent's 2-2, working on 3-3. He doesn't have a single ground upgrade, only one mutilus upgrade, no upgrades even in production. So to contain what it's doing is delaying the battle, but as time goes on, his army is going to be so much outclassed because while he does have some extra bases, he doesn't have a whole ton of drones at each of them. So in fact, right now, it's actually almost even in economy, and as soon as his opponent can go and expand, his opponent will get the advantage in economy. So here we're at a situation again where, let me just keep a look at this contain here. We're at a situation again where if you're ever a player and you have a contain, and you know you've got time before anything critical is damaged, right, before you can lose a base or economy, that's where you should be investing in upgrades and in higher tech units. A situation like this is great because what you can do is you can do the spine crawlers in the front, and you can position your mutalists around the side. So if they come out to push the spine crawlers, the mutalists can come in and attack, of course, the third base. Kill the probes there. That's their most viable mining base because that's the one they'll mine out the least. Another way to make this container really work is, as well, what you can do is you can grab Vipers. And if you grab Vipers, what you can do is when these Protoss units are hanging out... Oops, sorry. When the Protoss units are hanging out right there, you can find the important ones, and you can snag the important ones. Let's say you want to grab, you know, like a sentry right here. You want to grab one of these Tempests right there, and you yank them all the way into your spine crawlers. And then as soon as they're yanked in, you've got a really good, position where the spine crawlers can also then go and kill them. So it's a nice situation here to add in some Vipers and knock out these critical Protoss units like the Archons, the Immortals, all those great Protoss units. So to recap this game, Nerchio played an amazing opening there with the Mutilus, a cool opening to avoid that early game pressure, got total map control, but then once you have that total map control, what you've got to do is you've got to focus on getting ahead in upgrades, getting ahead in economy, and then, of course, getting ahead in tech, utilizing the Vipers with upgrades and the Spine Cores instead of trying to just stay low tech and no upgrades. Because, as we see, if you see this game through its end, catch the VODs at youtube.com/official_MLGSE2. Babyknight gets an unstoppable army with massive upgrades and just plows through the inferiorly upgraded Hydras. That wraps up game number 1. We'll take a short break and then be right back with game number 3.